اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله أنها قال دخل أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة، فقلت عليك السلام. قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا، فقلت لا أعوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال يا فاطمة ائتني بالكساء اليماني، فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، فصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة التمام وكماله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه، وقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنه رائحة جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. وأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده يا رسول الله، أتأذنني أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا والدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بوالدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا والدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخ جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. يا السلام عليك يا جد، والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، وتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء. وقال وعليك السلام يا والدي وشافي أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إن شم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن أم رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو ما والدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذنني أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا أخي يا وسيء وخليفتي وصحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذنني أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزأتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأمي بيد اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وأمتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم، وأنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عادهم ومحبا لمن أحبهم، إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الامین جبرائیل یا رب ومن تحت الکساء فقال عز وجل لهم اهل بیت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وابوها وبالها وبنوها اللهم صل. فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرأك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وهي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق النبي واصطفاني بالرسالة نجي ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جم من شيتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم لا يتفرقوا فقال علي عليه السلام وإذا والله فزنا وفاز شيتنا ورب الكعبة فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجي ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جم من شيتنا ومحبينا وفيه محموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجة فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم قل لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة في كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعين حتى تسكن وزك التوبة وتمتع فيها طويلا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
And I would like to invite Muhammad Bhatti.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum. I'll be reading a small poem, A Journey. It was peak of mischief in virtues and chains. Just laws were sacked with rules insane. As the tyrants on the rise and mass confused, offered lust with lies and faith abused. Thus the signs indicated and time dictated, some souls elevated as Al-Hussein navigated. The seed of the Prophet and the sight of his parents, time and deluge, he was arc so apparent. In the name of God, for the sake of Islam, for the freedom of life, for the soul of Islam. Gave greatest sacrifice, but not his hands, with the members of his kin and many of his friends. Hood, Muslim, and the friends, those hearts so pure, they offered their lives as shield and cure. Thus tyrants came forth from the curtain way old, then peace was brought and lives were sold. and daring in the manners were the two young brothers. In the boldness of their moves were the teachings of a mother. Shown on and Muhammad with the veiler known as Haydar. Those children were slain, not of feeling of a mother. With a message from his father was Qasim bin Hassan. Radiant jewel of Islam was his glowing young son. But Qasim into pieces with a bright day old. On the sand and heat, it was savage and cold. Then the pride of the Hashims rode back from the river, and the tyrants made sure he did not deliver. They cut off his arms, and the spirit was set, till an arrow hit the bag, only eyes got wet. Fell Abbas from the horse with no hands for resort. Then Al-Hussein rushed to the shore for the brothers' end resort. Those children who waited with patience were told, and thirst in the camp was 3 days old. Soon Akbar came down with a spear in his chest, which a father had to pull, so severe was this test. He was the image of the Prophet, and the life of Al-Hussein was vision of a mother and the eyes of Al-Hussein. Now the leader was alone as he called for help. Then a baby fell down, a response from the crib. This thirsty, pure infant was the son of Imam, who acknowledged his father and the call of Imam. Thus Al-Hussein brought him some water in the field, brought him for some water in the field, and showed them baby's dry lips and appealed. But the 6-month-old got an arrow so thick that turned him over and tore his neck. Ali Asghar went to sleep with his father in no fear, with a cradle on the fire and their head on a spear. And the mother's empty hand with the tear-dried eyes, who looked for the baby to sing lullabies. And the sister by the camp saw the horror of this trip, as a knife tore the neck where the Prophet put his lips. Earth in grief roared heavens in mourn. Sand turned red when Al-Hussein was torn. And the child full of tears with her tiny bleeding ears, bruises in her face, her thirst so severe. She ran for her father who laid beheaded, and cried for her uncle's help she needed. Sayyida Zainab looked for her in the sadness of their night. Did inquire every soul in the land of the plight, but Sakina was sleeping on the chest of a body, with the love of her father from the fragrance of a body. Then the camp pushed down while flames went up. Little children rushed out as their dresses lit up. It was the night full of cries and innocent quests. Shattered were the dreams and broken were the nests. All defenses laid rest after trials and the test. To face one imam even history could detest. Who fainted in the illness, faced torture and torment, a master of the pious and devotees ornament. Lashes on his back, heavy chains on Imam, but ladies were prisoners, was the wound of Imam. Chadar for them, no chadar for them, but their robe-tied arms, and grief soared high from Kufa to Sham. But the daughter of Ali challenged miseries with the message, with the families in bazaars and deadly courts of savages. With the depth of patience and the zenith of bravery, Islam was rescued forever from slavery. Salawat.
मैं दावत देता हूँ मुबश्शिर भाई को आए और अपना नजराने अक़ीदत पेश करें. सलवात बर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. बारे दिगर सलावत. मुझे अपने दुखों में आया जो शब्बीर का ख्याल, मुझे अपने दुखों में आया जो शब्बीर का ख्याल, शिकवा बदल के शुक्र में तब्दील हो गया. हर गम में करबला ने सहारा दिया मुझे, हर गम में करबला ने सहारा दिया मुझे, हर गम गमे हुसैन में तब्दील हो गया. एक दफा सलवात पढ़ दीजिए प्लीज. ये बहुत ही पुराना कलाम है जो कि मुख्तसर सा चंद मिनट में दूंगा आप लोगों के, तो आप एक बार फिर से सलवात पढ़ दीजिए प्लीज. میرے جسم میں جان جب تک رہے گی میں کرتا رہوں گا ثنا پنجتن کی. میرے جسم میں جان جب تک رہے گی میں کرتا رہوں گا ثنا پنجتن کی. میں اور میری حقیقت ہی کیا ہے خدا کر رہا ہے ثنا پنجتن کی. میرے جسم میں جان صلوات دکھاؤ ہمیں وہ عبادت کہاں ہے عبادات کی جو کہ روح رواں ہے. دکھاؤ ہمیں وہ عبادت کہاں ہے عبادات کی جو کہ روح رواں ہے. یہ بے جان روزے نمازیں تو لائے کہاں بھول آئے ولا پنجتن کی. میرے جسم میں جان جب تک رہے گی میں کرتا رہوں گا ثنا پنجتن کی. ایک دفعہ صلوات پڑھ دیجیے بلند آواز سے. جبھی تو حرم کو پیغمبر نے روکا کہ ہو بعد میرے کسی کو نہ دھوکا. جبھی تو حرم کو پیغمبر نے روکا کہ ہو بعد میرے کسی کو نہ دھوکا. کبھی اور کوئی نہ آئے گا اس میں کہ مخصوص ہے یہ قصہ پنجتن کی. میرے جسم میں جان جب تک رہے گی میں کرتا رہوں گا ثنا پنجتن کی. باب بلند صلوات. او آدم و حوا کے نالائق لڑکے تو آلے پیغمبر کو ناراض کر کے. او آدم و حوا کے نالائق لڑکے تو آلے پیغمبر کو ناراض کر کے کہاں سے خدا کی رضا ڈھونڈتا ہے. خدا کی رضا ہے رضا پنجتن کی. میرے جسم میں جان جب تک رہے گی میں کرتا رہوں گا ثنا پنجتن کی. باواز بلند صلوات. دو بند صاحب کے. کریں کیوں نہ ہم روز و شب آہوزاری جو بے رحم ظالم نے چادر اتاری. کریں کیوں نہ ہم روز و شب آہوزاری جو بے رحم ظالم نے چادر اتاری. وہ زینب اکیلی کے کے سر سے نہ اتری، لٹی کربلا میں ردا پنجتن کی۔ میرے جسم میں جان جب تک رہے گی، میں کرتا رہوں گا ثنا پنجتن کی۔ آزادار ہوں میں شہ کربلا کا، ہے غم مجھ کو بنتے علی کی ردا کا۔ آزادار ہوں میں شاہ کربلا کا، ہے غم مجھ کو بنتے علی کی ردا کا۔ ہم پہ جو گزری سو گزری ہے، لیکن رباب اور لیلا کا غم کھا گیا ہے۔ میرے جسم میں جان جب تک رہے گی، میں کرتا رہوں گا ثنا پنجتن کی۔ میں اور میری حقیقت ہی کیا ہے، خدا کر رہا ہے ثنا پنجتن کی۔ میرے جسم میں جان بہت بلند صلوات۔
میں دعوت دیتا ہوں احسن بھائی کو آئے اور اپنی نذرانہ عقیدت پیش کرے۔ صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد۔
بارے دیگر صلوات۔ ایک سلام جناب عباس کی مناسبت سے ایک بار پھر صلوات پڑھے گا۔ عباس نامدار و شجاعت کے بادشاہ، شجاعت کے بادشاہ۔ عباس نامدار و شجاعت کے بادشاہ، شجاعت کے بادشاہ۔ انسانیت کو تو نے وفا کا سبق دیا، وفا کا سبق دیا۔ عباس نامدار شجاعت کے بادشاہ، شجاعت کے بادشاہ۔ فتح فرات کر کے بھی پانی نہ پی سکے، فتح فرات کر کے بھی پانی نہ پی سکے۔ ہر دم رہا خیال سکینہ کی پیاس کا، سکینہ کی پیاس کا۔ ہر دم رہا خیال سکینہ کی پیاس کا، سکینہ کی پیاس کا۔ غازی تجھے نہ روکتے آقا حسین اگر، غازی تجھے نہ روکتے آقا حسین اگر، چھنتی کبھی نہ کرب میں زینب کی پھر ردا، زینب کی پھر ردا۔ چھنتی کبھی نہ
کرب میں زینب کی پھر ردا، زینب کی پھر ردا، دعویٰ غلام ہونے کا کرتے ہیں یوں بہت، دعویٰ غلام ہونے کا کرتے ہیں یوں بہت، لیکن علی کے لال کیا تو نے حق ادا کیا، تو نے حق ادا، لیکن علی کے لال کیا تو نے حق ادا کیا، تو نے حق ادا، عباس نامدار شجاعت کے بادشاہ، شجاعت کے بادشاہ، انسانیت کو تو نے وفا کا سبق دیا، وفا کا سبق دیا، صلوات۔ بار دیگر صلوات۔
صدمہ حسین نے یہ اٹھایا ہے کس طرح، قاسم کی لاش خیمے میں لایا ہے کس طرح، فروا یہ بولی شاہ سے قاسم جوان تھا، گٹھری میں میرا لال سمایا ہے کس طرح۔ Now without further ado, I would like to invite Mustafa Ali Masood to address the Majlis.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله.
Maulana, you have to change the view. Like, it's coming across. Sorry.
1 second. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله في محكم كتابه الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل فأسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدها لهم، صدق الله العلي العظيم. In honor of Abul Fadl Abbas, salam Allah alayh, Can we all recite a loud salawat? Genetic brotherhood is classed in 3 different categories, 3 different types. You have the first type, which is they are brothers from the same mother. For example, the mother gets married to someone, has a child. For one reason or the other, she either divorces or she becomes a widow and she marries another man. And this other man also has children with her, so they have brothers from the same mother. Or you have brothers from the same father, where the father gets married to 2 different women, whether it's at the same time or, of course, at different times. And he has children and they are from different mothers, but they have the same father, so they also become brothers, known as sometimes stepbrothers. Or you have, for example, or half brothers, or for example, you have brothers from the same father and the same mother. And this is, of course, the most common one. Brothers from the same father and mother. Quran speaks about brotherhood and mentions brotherhood in many instances. In fact, Quran says that المؤمنون إنما المؤمنون أخوة, that mu'mins are brothers. Muslim believers, those that believe in Allah, the Holy Messenger, the Imams, believe in the adala of Allah, the justice of Allah, as well as believing in the Qiyamah, the Day of Judgment, they also become what? Brothers. And this is something that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam established when he entered into Medina. We know that he migrated from Mecca to Medina. When he entered Medina, you have the Ansar, known as the Ansar companions, who are what? The aiders or the helpers who lived in Medina. And you have the Muhajirin, who are who? The people that left Mecca to come to Medina. A lot of the Muhajirin that left Mecca and came towards Medina, they left without their property, they left their homes, they left their wealth. They came to Medina without anything. So the question was, if they left Medina without anything, they left Mecca without anything. When they came to Medina, they did not have a house, they did not have wealth, some of them did not have families. So Rasulullah said that I'm going to do brotherhood between the Muhajirun and the Ansar. So for example, someone from Mecca becomes a brother from someone from Medina, and he established this brotherhood. What does this brotherhood? It doesn't mean just you are brothers just by calling each other brother. Assalamu alaikum, brother. That's what we usually know about brothers. That when you say salam, when you ask about your brother, you just have that title, brother. Rasulullah did not want this. No, he wanted something extra. What did he say? He said, "O people of Medina, share your wealth, share your home." A lot of them, their homes, they built a partition between it, a wall, and they gave half of their home to who? To people from Mecca. Because the people from Mecca, the companions that came from Mecca, they did not have anything. So Allah asked the Prophet to make this brotherhood, to establish a strong community. Then, as he was doing the brotherhood, Imam Ali alayhi salam narrates that I was looking while the Holy Prophet was doing this brotherhood between all the companions, and I noticed that I was left all alone without anyone becoming my brother. So I asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that, have you forgotten me, O Rasulullah? Rasulullah beautifully responds by saying, إنما ادخرتك لنفسي يا علي أنت أخي في الدنيا وأخي في الآخرة. Oh Ali, you are my brother in this world as well as my brother in the hereafter. يا علي أنت مني بمنزلة هارون من موسى. Your relationship to me is that of Harun, Aaron, to Musa, Moses, and he made Ali his brother. Therefore, this type of brotherhood is very important in Islam, and we as a community that is waiting for our own Imam, the living Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallah Ta'ala, Farajahu Sharif, we must be the type that have this bond between our brothers in the community. We are living through difficult times, through times of COVID. My dear brothers and sisters, make sure you ask about your community members. Those community members maybe that you do not see only in Muharram, or you do not hear from only in Muharram or in the month of Ramadan. This is the time to make sure they are okay, they are safe, they are protected, they need something. A lot of people are unemployed now in the United States, even in the United Kingdom. A lot of people lost their jobs due to the COVID crisis. Have you asked about your brothers, your sisters in the community? Have you made sure you pick up the phone, you call them, you wonder if they're well, are they okay, comfortable? Do they need any money, need any wealth? Do they need any protection? Are they lacking any of the necessities of life? This is when we become a community that is strong, a community that is ready to welcome the Imam. This is what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Now, coming back to the genetic brotherhood. The genetic brotherhood is what, my dear brothers and sisters? As I mentioned, genetic brotherhood is either from the same mother or from the same father, they are brothers, or they are brothers from the same father and mother. Let's look at the brothers from the same mother and the brothers from the same father. A lot of people say that brothers, and this is psychologists, people that study people's behavior, humans' behavior, they say generally, brothers from the same mother are more connected and are more brothers that have more love for each other. What do I mean? I mean, because Allah has called the womb of the mother, in Arabic, it's called Rahim. The womb of the mother is called Rahim. Rahim, what does it mean? It means mercy. Rahmatullah. We always say the rahmah is from Allah, the mercy. So some say, as well as Muslim scholars, as well as psychologists, they say that because they are from the same rahim, they are from the same womb, brothers from the same mother are usually what? Closer together, are usually more merciful to each other, show more love to each other. Let us study this concept and find out, is it true that brothers from the same mother are closer? Or can there be instances where no, this is not necessarily something that applies to all? And we will do this by examining the story of the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, as mentioned in the Holy Quran in Surah Yusuf. Surah Yusuf is one of the most beautiful surahs in the Holy Quran. And Quran is filled with beautiful stories and beautiful lessons for us to be deriving from. Yet, when we look at Surah Yusuf is unique because it gives the chronological order of what happened to Nabi Allah Yusuf alayhi salam and his father Yaqub alayhi salam and the story of his brothers. In fact, Allah calls this story in the Holy Quran, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص. Allah says that this is the best of stories, the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Yet, we will try and look at this relationship between Yusuf and his brother. The verse I started the lecture with says, if he steals, a brother of him has also stolen before. This verse, as I mentioned, from Surah Yusuf, is explaining an incident that took place when Yusuf alayhi salam was the Aziz, one of the leaders in Egypt. Of course, we know Surah Yusuf is one of the best stories, as I mentioned. And this is narrated to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muslim community to gain lessons from. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes you will hear people say, Why do you remember Imam al-Hussein? He died 1,400 years ago. Why do you always ponder about the past? Why do you always bring the past into question and start asking questions about the past? I say to those that question why we always look at the past and we look at the lives of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, and all the other Imams. We say this is something that we were taught by the Quran, by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because if our history does not matter to us, why does Allah need to mention the previous prophets and previous nations before us? Why does He need to mention the story of Adam, or the story of Noah with the building of the ark, or the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam with his son Ismail, or the story of Musa alayhi salam with Bani Israel, or the story of Isa alayhi salam and his mother Maryam? Why does Allah mention all these stories? If you look, the combined prophets that are mentioned in the Quran, most of them are mentioned more than Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. If Allah is mentioning previous nations and previous prophets, what is Allah telling us? Allah is telling us, oh Muslims, derive lessons from previous nations. Take lessons from previous nations. Examine their life. Examine their stories. You will benefit from this. And this is what we do. When we look at the story of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and the emotional side of the story and the impact of the story on ourselves, on our nafs, we cry, we mourn, we beat our chest for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. But at the same time, we derive lessons from the story of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So let us look at first the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. We all know the story of Yusuf. There's even a film series that was made about the story of Yusuf, which a lot of people have seen. Yusuf alayhi salam, we know that he had
yet from the same father. Yusuf alayhi salam is neglected by his brothers, and in fact they tell Yaqub alayhi salam that Yusuf was eaten by a wild animal, a wolf or a wild animal, and this is the
fake blood, and they tell Yaqub that Yusuf has died. Yet Yaqub alayhi salam knows that Yusuf is alive, and he senses in his heart that Yusuf is still alive. To summarize the story, Yusuf goes to Egypt. He is taken as a captive. Then he goes into the house of one of the Azizes of Egypt. Then he is deceived. Zuleika tries to deceive Yusuf. Of course, Yusuf does not let her deceive him because he is a prophet of Allah, a ma'soom, and he is imprisoned until he is out of the prison and he becomes the Aziz. The Aziz of Egypt, what does this mean? It means like he becomes one of the ministers, one of those people that is in charge of a certain ministry in the country of Egypt. That ministry that he is in charge of is what? Is the treasury. The king, the pharaoh of Egypt, puts him in charge of the treasury of Egypt. When Yusuf becomes the treasurer, he says to the king that we will have 7 good years of good crops, of good food, of healthy food, followed by 7 bad years of famine and bad crop. And we will go through difficulties in the 7 years of famine. So the Aziz asks him, the king asks him, what do you suggest, Yusuf, for us to be safe? Yusuf alayhi salam suggests that, O king of Egypt, that the 7 years that we have of good crop, of good wheat, good barley, good food, we save some of it. We don't eat and we don't use all of it. We will save some. So when the 7 bad years come, we will have enough crops and enough food to eat and go through this hardship. To cut the story short, during the 7 years of famine, Yaqub, who lived in an area known as Canaan, go also through this famine, and they hear that there is a king who has an Aziz known as the Aziz of Egypt, who has some food and he is sharing this food and this wheat with others. So Yaqub alayhi salam sends his sons to Egypt. They come, they collect from this food and they go back. Then the second time they go back, Yusuf recognizes his brothers, but they do not recognize him. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he makes a plan. That what? That I will make a plan to save Binyamin, my brother, who is from the same father and the same mother. Binyamin is from the same father and mother as who? As Yusuf alayhi salam. They are full brothers. The others are only the same father. So Yusuf makes a plan. He places one of the gold items. Some people say this gold item was a spoon or a scale that Yusuf would use to carry the rice, the wheat, the barley, and share it. He places into Binyamin's bag. And this is what happens on the night before they leave. He tells Binyamin, he puts all the brothers together. They had 9, he puts them all together, all the brothers, he pairs them up, and he leaves Binyamin by himself. And he tells Binyamin that you will stay with me. And then he tells Binyamin, would you like to be my brother? Binyamin does not recognize Yusuf. None of them recognize Yusuf. Binyamin says, yes, of course I would like to be your brother, O Aziz of Egypt. But how can I be your brother? We are not from the same parents. Yusuf looks at Binyamin and he tells him, Binyamin, it's me, Yusuf. Do you not recognize me? I am your brother. So Binyamin says, thank you, Yusuf, for allowing me to stay with you. But how are you going to let me stay with you? Yusuf tells him, don't worry, I've got a plan. I'll make sure you stay with me. So the guards place the spoon, the scale in the belongings of Binyamin. And when they are leaving, in the next day in the morning, when the brothers of Yusuf are leaving, a caller calls out that the scale, the spoon that Yusuf uses is missing. We have to look for it. So they stop everyone that is leaving Egypt and they start searching their bags until they get to Binyamin's bag belongings. And they realize that the scale is in Binyamin's belongings. Yusuf says to them that there is a law, which was the law that time. There was a specific law that if anyone steals an item from someone, then they have to become their servant and stay with them. So he tells them that Binyamin has to stay with me. They tell him, oh Yusuf, they do not know it's Yusuf, obviously. They tell him, oh Aziz of Egypt, please don't let Binyamin stay with you. Our father already is missing one of our brothers and it will upset him and he will cry. And we can't go back to Canaan, to our father, without our brother Binyamin. Yusuf says, no, he stays with me. This is the response which is I read in the verse. They said to the Aziz, they don't know it's Yusuf. They said to him, قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل. They said, if he has stolen something, this is something that runs in his blood. Why? They say, because Yusuf also stole before him. They make up a fabrication, a lie, that Yusuf also stole. فأسرها يوسف في نفسه. Yusuf, when he heard this, it upset him that they are accusing him of stealing, not knowing that it's Yusuf, but he kept it inside himself. He did not say anything. وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ. He did not say anything to them. He said, go back to your father. When they returned to their father, Yaqub, they tell Yaqub that we have returned without Binyamin because Binyamin had stolen something and he has stayed in Egypt. What does Yaqub do? As soon as he finds out that that Binyamin is not with them, he remembers the pains of Yusuf. He says, Wa asafa ala Yusuf. He remembers the pain of not being able to see Yusuf. He remembers that Yusuf is no longer with him. And it upsets him so much that he starts to cry and cry and cry until his eyes go blind. وَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ. He becomes blind because of the severe crying that he cries over Yusuf alayhi salam. Now, let's look at this verse and try and understand this relationship between these brothers. Some people say if they are accusing Yusuf of stealing, did Yusuf really steal? And if so, what did he steal? Scholars of tafsir, scholars that look at the exegesis of the Quran, explanation of the Quran, say that Yusuf, when he was younger, one day he saw a poor man and he wanted to give him some food. So Yusuf took some eggs and he went and he gave it to this poor man. If that was the case, then Yusuf, that doesn't count as stealing because those eggs belong to him and Yusuf gave it to the poor man. So this does not count as stealing. The second view is that scholars say that he gave him some chicken from the farm. They had a farm and Yusuf gave him some chicken because of this poor man. He did not have any food to eat. Other scholars say no. Again, this is not theft because the chicken belonged to him and to his family, so he is giving it to him. Other scholars say no. Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was younger, his aunt was looking after him. The fact that his auntie was looking after him, when Yaqub came to take him back home, he was there for maybe the summer. Sometimes you'll see kids or children go to spend time with their family during the summer holidays or during a break. And then after the break, the parents would come and take the child back. Yusuf, when his father came to take him back, his aunt was attached to Yusuf so much, she made a lie, she made a fabrication. She said to Yaqub, Yusuf has stolen something from me. Why did she say this? Because if you steal in those days, the law was what? That you stay as a slave or a servant in that location. So she wanted to keep Yusuf with her, so she made up this fabrication. So this third view also says that what? That Yusuf did not lie. Yusuf was not someone that was stealing. The fourth view that scholars give, and this is such a beautiful view, it's called Tafsirul Ishara. They say that, and a lot of the scholars use this, some scholars in the Muslim world use this. They say that Yusuf stole the love of their father from them. Yusuf stole the love of their father from them. Yaqub loved Yusuf more than any other of his other sons. Therefore, they say that this was stealing of love. But of course, one asks the question, Yaqub alayhi salam was a prophet, and Yaqub was one of the best prophets of Allah. Why would he do this? Did Yaqub really love one of his sons more than the others? There's a few answers for this. Number one, that Yaqub knew that Yusuf was a prophet, so he had to make sure he gives him more attention because he is a prophet of Allah. Others say no, that Yaqub alayhi salam realized that Yusuf, who lost his mother at a very young age, was deprived from the love, the emotional attachment of his mother. He was deprived from having a mother. You see, any child growing up without a mother will feel some loneliness, will feel some emptiness in his heart. Therefore, Yusuf alayhi salam was without a mother. And Yaqub alayhi salam tried to compensate for this and make up for the loss of his mother. Therefore, he gave him more attention because he had lost his mother. But the brothers of Yusuf got jealous and they built this hatred for Yusuf alayhi salam. You see, sometimes in different communities, if one person is being shown more love than everyone else, people will start showing some haqad, some hatred, some hasad, jealousy against that person. Even in the time of Rasulullah, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, the companions sometimes would get jealous of who? They got jealous of Imam Ali alayhi salam, because they noticed that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam would show more love to Imam Ali. But Rasulullah did not show more love to Imam Ali because he was related to him, his cousin, or he was his son-in-law. No, he showed more love and more respect and more honor to Imam Ali alayhi salam, because Imam Ali sacrificed for Rasulullah and for the religion of Islam, because Imam Ali dedicated his life for the religion of Islam. That's why there was a law that was sent down to Rasulullah that, O Muhammad, close all the doors leading to the mosque except the door of Ali and Fatima. You can keep that door open. Some of the companions got jealous. Why only the door of Ali and Fatima is open and Rasulullah closed all our doors leading to the mosque? Rasulullah realized that the companions, some of them were getting jealous and were building up this hatred against Imam Ali. Rasulullah got onto the pulpit and said, "O Muslims, I did not leave the door of Ali and Fatima open because Fatima is my daughter and Ali is my son. No, this was an order from Allah because they are what? They are purified people. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا." That Allah has selected you, O Ahlul Bayt, and purified you, and that is why I leave the door of Ali and Fatima open. Of course, after this false accusation of Yusuf alayhi salam of stealing, this is when they returned to their father and informed him about what had happened to Binyamin. And then Yaqub asked them to return to Yusuf and ask him that what? That please return our brother. Please return Binyamin to us. This is when Yusuf informed them that he was Yusuf. Then they told him, our father has become blind. Look at this beautiful lesson that we as followers of Imam al-Hussein salamullahi alayhi need to understand and need to know how to give answers to people who accuse us of kissing the flag of Aba Abdullah, kissing the flag of Abbas, that beautiful flag of Abu al-Fadl Abbas. They say, you are doing shirk. Why do you do this? Or you go to the shrines and you kiss the dharih of Imam al-Hussein. Why do you do this? We say, we do this because we take lessons from the Quran. What does Yusuf do? Yusuf takes his shirt and gives it to the brothers of his brothers. And he tells them, take my shirt and throw it at my father. Give it to my father, Yaqub, and let him wipe his eyes, his face with my shirt, and his eyes will be cured. Yaqub is a prophet. Yusuf is a prophet. Why can't Yaqub make dua, oh Allah, make my eyes better and cure my eyes? Why can't Yusuf say, oh Allah, cure my father's eyes? Why does he need to send what? His shirt to Yaqub. So Yaqub wipes his eyes with the shirt of Yusuf and therefore he can see. There are many miracles when you look at the flag of Abbas. When you go to the ziyarah of Abu al-Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayhi and you ask your hajat. So many people have gone to the shrine of Al-Abbas alayhi salam and asked for their hajat and said, Abu al-Fadl Abbas, my father is sick, or my mother is sick, or my wife is sick, or I am sick. So many people go and intercede and ask Allah through Abbas. See, look, my dear brothers and sisters, when I say we go and get our hajat from Abbas salamullahi alayhi or from Imam al-Hussein, Al-Abbas salamullahi alayhi is known as what? Babul Hawaij. He is known as the gate, the door to our hajat, to our needs. But our needs are granted from who? From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the intercession of Imam al-Hussein, through the intercession of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, through the intercessions of Imam Ali and the Ahlul Bayt, we ask. Wasila is something that is mentioned in the Quran, intercession. It's common sense. Not only is it mentioned in the Quran, not only is it something that the Prophet ordered us to do. A companion by the name of Uthman ibn Hunayf, he comes to Rasulullah and he says, "Oh Rasulullah, I want my dua to be accepted. What do I need to do?" Rasulullah tells him, repeat these lines when you want to do dua. Allahumma inni as'aluka wa atawajjahu ilayka binabiyyik Nabiy al-Rahma Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Oh Allah, I turn to you and I ask you through the messenger of Allah, through the person most close to you, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And even Yaqub's sons, when they realize that they have done a mistake, they tell their father what? قالوا استغفر لنا. Oh Yaqub, make dua for us so Allah can forgive us. Why don't they make dua directly to Allah? Why do they need to go and ask their father Yaqub to make istighfar for them and to pray for them? They can directly speak to Allah. Why do they go to Yaqub? Why do they use Yaqub as a wasila, as a door, as a gate to their hajat? Because Yaqub is closer to Allah. Yaqub is a prophet. Therefore, they know that Yaqub's dua is answered. We say the same, that the Prophet is closer to Allah. Imam Ali is closer to Allah than me. Imam Hussein is closer to Allah than me. Al-Abbas is closer to Allah than me. So I ask Allah through Abbas alayhi salam. It's very important. Some people come and say, well, Yaqub and Prophet Muhammad, they were alive. And then people went and asked for their hajat. But now they have died. We say no. ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء. Do not say those that have died in the way of Allah that they have died, they have been slain. No, they are ahya, they are alive with Allah.
Hear me, my voice, and you can hear my salam, and you return my salam to me. They are not dead. If they were dead, why in salah we say assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh? These are logical answers. They don't require someone to overthink, and everything that we do, shirk, 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 you are kafir, you are kafir. Why is it shirk? The Quran, we are following the Qurans and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. And we ask our hajat through Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas salamullahi alayh. Therefore, we can conclude from the story of Yusuf, which I've summarized, of course. The story of Yusuf is a beautiful story and has many lessons that can be derived from it, but I've summarized. We can conclude that from the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, that brothers from the same mother are closer. Yusuf and Binyamin, who are from the same mother and the same father, are closer than the other brothers. Is this the case that applies to every brother? No, this is definitely not the case. Let's go to the school of Karbala. Let's go to Aba Abdullah al-Husayn's university. Let's go to the master of martyrs. Let's go to Sayyid al-Shuhada and look at him and his relationship with his brothers. Abu Abdullah al-Husayn did not have any full brothers. By full, I mean the same father and the same mother in Karbala. His only full brother is who? Is Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. He had what? He had brothers that were from the same father, but different mothers. In fact, some narrations say or suggest that it wasn't just Abbas and his 3 brothers, but Imam al-Hussein also had another 5 brothers from different mothers on the day of Ashura. But there is a special relationship he had with one of them. They were all, of course, his brothers. But there was one special one he had with who? With Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Qamar Bani Hashim, Hamilu Liwa al-Hussein alayhi salam. Let's look. Is that theory that brothers from different mothers have a different relationship? No, that's not the case with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and with his brother Al-Abbas alayhi salam. Because we know that Al-Abbas alayhi salam was born approximately 30 or 25 years after Imam al-Hussein. And he was from a different mother. The mother of Abbas was al-Banin. She always taught Abbas and his brothers, do not call Hussein Akhi. Don't say you are my brother. Call him Sayyidi. Call him my master. Call him Mawlai. Because, oh Abbas, you are the son of al-Banin. And Hassan and Hussein are the sons of Fatima, the daughter of Rasulullah. Show them respect. Al-Abbas not only saw Imam al-Hussein as his brother, but he saw Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam as his Imam, his leader. And on the day of Ashura, after all the companions had been killed, and after Qasim had been killed, Al-Abbas alayhi salam came to his brother Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and sought permission to go out on the battlefield. What did Imam al-Hussein respond? He said, Akhi Abu al-Fadl, anta sahibu liwa'i. My brother Abbas, you are my flag bearer. How can I let you go? How can you leave me, O Abbas? Abbas insisted and insisted and insisted. And he said, Akhi Aba Abdullah, inna sarakat al-atfal tunadi al-atash, al-atash, taksir qalbi. The cries of the children screaming out, al-atash, we are thirsty, is breaking my heart. Allow me to go. Imam al-Hussein tells him, oh Abbas, if you really have to go, then go and get some water for the children. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, my dear mu'mineen, brothers and sisters, gets onto his horse. Then he brings the water carrier, the water bag with him. He holds the flag in the right arm and he goes towards the battlefield. 4,000 men were surrounding the Furat. Al-Abbas goes through all those men, killing many of them. Many of them run away. He goes into the water of Furat. Then he fills his hand with some water. As he brings the water next to his mouth, he feels the coldness of that water. Imam al-Sadiq says that my uncle's heart, Al-Abbas, was burning from thirst. Al-Abbas brings the water. Then he remembered the thirst of Abu Abdullah. He remembered the lips, the dry lips of Imam al-Hussein. He remembered Sakina crying out, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, we are thirsty, we are thirsty. Then he threw the water and did not take any sip of water. Then he said, Ya nafs min ba'd al-Husayn huni wa ba'dahu la kunti an takuni. هذا حسين وارد المنون وتشربين بارد المعين تالله ما هذا فعال ديني. He speaks to his soul. He says, O soul, after Hussein nobody does count. After him you should to nothing amount. Here is Hussein nearing his end, while you drink some of the cold water. By Allah, Such is not a deed that I would do. Such is not a deed that is enjoined by my faith. Al-Abbas throws the water, then he fills the water carrier, and he gets back onto his horse. Then he goes towards the tents of Aba Abdullah. Then he starts to say, إني أنا العباس أغدو بالسقاء لا أرهب الموت إذا الموت زقا نفسي لسبط المصطفى الطهري وقع ولا أخاف الشر يوم الملتقى. He sings these lines. He says, I do not fear death when it calls upon me. Till among the swords you bury me. My soul protects the one who is the Prophet's grandson. There's a poem that describes what Al-Abbas would say. He would say, I am the protector of this holy land, fighting like a lion on Karbala sands. Son of Ali, if they dare, let them come here I stand. For Hussein, I would give my left and right hand. I am Abbas. I am the son of the one and only Haydar. I am from the blood of who carried the door of Khaybar. Their blood is my ink and I am the writer. For Hussein, I'll bring down lightning and thunder. I am Abbas. I am the one who refused to drink water, fighting the thirst of Hussein's young daughter. One by one I raised my sword to their slaughter. Now I drink with wings by the pool of Kawthar. I am Abbas. Abbas is returning towards the tents of Aba Abdullah, one of the enemies by the name of Zayd ibn al-Raqqad hides behind a tree. When Abbas goes past him, he takes his sword, then he strikes Abbas's right hand, cutting off Abbas's hands. Abbas says, والله إن قطعتم يميني إني أحامي أبدا عن ديني وعن إمام الصادق يقيني نجل النبي الطاهر الأمين. By Allah, if you cut off my right hand, I shall not cease defending my religion and continue to defend my true Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. He continues towards the tents of Aba Abdullah. His only mission is to return the water, for Sukaina keeps screaming out, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. One of the enemies by the name of Hakim ibn al-Tufail hides behind a palm tree. When Abbas goes past him, he takes his sword and strikes Abbas on his left arm. Then Abbas would say, يا نفس لا تخشي من الكفار وأبشري برحمة الجبار مع النبي السيد المختار قد قطعوا ببغيهم يساري فأصلهم يا رب حر النار. O nafs, O soul, do not be afraid of the kuffar and be receiving the mercy of Allah. With the Holy Prophet you shall meet soon. Even after they cut my left arm, I will continue towards the tents of Imam al-Hussein. Narrations of the Maqtal say, my dear brothers and sisters, Umar ibn Sa'd screamed out, do not let Abbas go to the water, to return the water to Imam al-Hussein. Shower him with your arrows. فتكاثرت عليه الأسهام. The arrows came running down, raining down onto Abbas. The first arrow struck the water bag. The second arrow went into Abbas's chest. Then an arrow went into his eyes. Abbas stood there confused. He did not have any arms to fight with. He did not have any water to return with. He did not have any eye to see with. As he stood there, one of the enemies came from behind, bringing an iron pole. Abbas, bringing an iron pole. He strikes Abbas onto his head, split opening Abbas's head. He splits open Abbas's head. For the first time, Abbas screams out, Akhi Aba Abdullah, my brother Aba Abdullah, come to your brother Abbas. Imam al-Hussein is waiting next to the tents. Suddenly he sees the flag of Abbas fall. Suddenly he sees the flag of Abbas fall. Then he hears the words, Akhi Aba Abdullah. He notices Aba al-Fadl is calling him brother for the first time. Imam al-Hussein goes towards his brother Abbas. Al-Abbas is in his final moments. He's laying there. There's an arrow in his eyes. Hamid ibn Muslim, who narrates parts of the Maqtal, he says, I saw Imam al-Hussein as he was walking. He carried he carried something in his hands, then he kissed it. Then he walked a bit, he carried something else and he kissed it. He said, when I inspected and I got closer, I noticed that it was the right and left arm of Abbas. It was the right and left arms of Abbas. He came towards his beloved brother Abbas. Allah, those that say brothers from different mothers do not have a beautiful relationship, do not have mercy and love. Look at the relationship between Hussein and Abbas. As Abbas was laying there, he heard footsteps next to his head. He said, I ask you by Allah, I ask you, do not kill me, because I want my brother Hussein to come next to me. I want to see him one more time. I want to kiss him one more time. Imam al-Hussein breaks down. He starts to cry. He says, Akhi Aba al-Fadl, it is your brother Hussein sitting next to you. It is your brother Hussein sitting next to you. Then Imam al-Hussein places Abbas's head in his lap. Abbas moves his head and places it on the sands of Karbala. Imam al-Hussein takes Abbas's head one more time and he places it in his lap. Al-Abbas moves his head. Imam al-Hussein says, Akhi Aba al-Fadl, you are breaking my heart. Why is it every time I place your head in my lap, you remove it? Abbas would respond, Akhi Aba Abdullah, my master Hussein, now my head will be in your lap. Where will your head be in a few moments? And then, my dear brothers and sisters, Mu'minun, the soul of Abbas reaches into the heavens. Imam al-Hussein stands up, but when he stands up, his back is broken. He holds onto his back. Then he says, Al-an inkasara dhahri. Abbas, you have broken my back. Then he goes towards the tents. The first person to see him is his beloved daughter Sakina.
Sakina says, oh my father Hussein, where is my uncle Abbas? Imam al-Hussein informs her that Abbas will not return. Zainab hears that her beloved Hussein says Abbas will not return. She screams out, وَضَيْعَتَنَا بَعْدَكَ يَا أَبَا الْفَضْلِ. We are lost without you, O Abbas. This moment breaks the heart. Imam al-Hussein walks towards the tent of Abbas. Then he takes the pole out. The tent of Abbas falls, signaling that Abbas will not return. Wa Abbas, wa Abbas, wa Abbas.
مات يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس
يا عباس يا عباس
يا عباس يا عباس
يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس
يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس عباس يا عباس يا عباس يا عباس هاي عباس هاي عباس هاي عباس يا عباس يا عباس هاي عباس هاي عباس هاي عباس عباس زینب زینب عباس میرا مر گیا زینب زینب شبیر دیتے تھے صدا زینب زینب عباس میرا مر گیا زینب زینب شبیر دیتے تھے صدا زینب عباس میرا مر گیا زینب
جے کدی سین تیرا غازی بیرانا مردا 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 نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی بیرانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی بیرانا مردا نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی بیرانا مردا جے کدی سین غازی بیرانا جے بازاراں وچ زینب نو نہ لے کے آندے جے بازاراں وچ زینب تھا نہ کوئی ماتم کردا نہ کوئی روندائی تھا نہ کوئی ماتم کردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برا آئی خیمے تو صدا تیر نہ ماری ظالم آئی خیمے تو صدا تیر نہ ماری ظالم بہو نازک ہے گلا میرے علی اصغر دا بہو نازک ہے گلا میرے علی اصغر دا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا کوئی مدینے جا کے سغرانو اطلاع دے وے کوئی مدینے جا کے سغرانو اطلاع دے وے آخری ویلائیا ویکھ لمو اکبر دا آخری ویلائیا دیکھ لمو اکبر دا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برا سین زہرا کرو غازی دی منشا پوری سین زہرا کرو غازی دی منشا پوری جد تک جیوندا روے نوکر تیرے دردا جد تک جیوندا روے نوکر تیرے دردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برا آئی خیمے تو صدا تیر نہ ماری ظالم آئی خیمے تو صدا تیر نہ ماری ظالم بہو نازک ہے گلا میرے علی اصغر دا بہو نازک ہے گلا میرے علی اصغر دا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برا نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا نہ کوئی خیمہ سڑدا نہ لٹیندا تیرا پردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی برانا مردا جے کدی سین تیرا غازی
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین مومنین پرسہ سن کے دیجئے گا اور ضروری نہیں ہے یہ ہمارا اولین فریضہ ہے نہیں پتا اگلے سال یہ دن میسر ہو یا نہ تو کوشش کیجئے گا کہ زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہویا کربل ہویا کربل ہویا کربل دے وچ جدا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہویا کربل ہویا کربل ہویا کربل دے وچ جدا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی اج بھی بنتے حسین روندی ہے 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 ہاتھ میرے عید تو چھڑا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا ہائے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی کیویں جاواں گی شام تے کوفہ 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 میں کو محمل تے آ بیٹھا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی شمر رج رج حسین کو مارے شمر رج رج حسین کو مارے شمر رج رج سکینہ کو مارے شمر رج رج سکینہ کو مارے جان داسی نہیں رہا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی چھ جگہ تو حسین چنے آئے 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 پھر بھی پورا نہ مل سکا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی میری چادر خدا دا پردہ ہے میری چادر خدا دا پردہ ہے میری چادر خدا دا پردہ ہے ماتھا میری چادر خدا دا پردہ ہے میری چادر دی تو بقا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی ہے زارا جائیاں داسرا غازی آیا جد قیدی قافلہ کوفہ 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 آئی ہر سین دی صدا غازی زارا جائیاں داسرا آسرا غازی ہائے زارا جائیاں دا آسرا غازی ہویا کربل ہویا کربل ہویا کربل دے وچ جدا غازی زارا جائیاں دا آسرا ہائے زارا جائیاں دا آسرا غازی ہائے سر تو زینب دے لہ گئی چادر سر تو زینب دے لہ گئی چادر سر تو لہ گئی چادر سر تو زینب دے لہ گئی چادر جدو مقتل نو ٹر پہ غازی زارا جائیاں دا آسرا غازی ہائے زارا جائیاں دا آسرا غازی ہائے زارا جائیاں دا آسرا غازی
یا حسین عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے 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 عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ جب شام و سحر فاطمہ زہرا تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے درہ لیے پہرے پہ ستمگار کھڑا ہے درہ لیے پہرے پہ ستمگار کھڑا ہے کیسے تیرے لاشے پہ سکینہ تجھے روئے کیسے تیرے لاشے پہ سکینہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ جس وقت اٹھایا نہ گیا لاشا جواں کا جس وقت اٹھایا نہ گیا لاشا جواں کا شے اس گھڑی اکبر سے زیادہ تجھے روئے شے اس گھڑی اکبر سے زیادہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ زینب نے کہا شام غریباں میں غازی زینب نے کہا شام غریباں میں غازی بے
پردہ مجھے دیکھ کے بابا تجھے روئے، بے پردہ مجھے دیکھ کے بابا تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، عباس حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، سجدے کے لیے جب لیا ہاتھوں کا سہارا، سجدے کے لیے جب لیا ہاتھوں کا سہارا، تو سجاد مصلی پہ ہمیشہ تجھے روئے، سجاد مصلی پہ ہمیشہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ، ماشاءاللہ ماشاءاللہ، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، بن ہاتھوں کے کس طرح تو گھوڑے سے گرا تھا، بن ہاتھوں کے کس طرح تو گھوڑے سے گرا تھا، یہ سن کے بہت اہل مدینہ تجھے روئے، یہ سن کے بہت اہل مدینہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، مشکیزہ کہیں جسم کہیں ہاتھ کہیں ہے، مشکیزہ کہیں جسم کہیں ہاتھ کہیں ہے، جا جا کے کہاں فاطمہ زہرا تجھے روئے، جا جا کے کہاں فاطمہ زہرا تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ 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 تجھے، ارمان سکینہ کھا جتنا تجھے روتی، ارمان سکینہ کا تھا جتنا تجھے روتی، سجاد تیری سجاد تیری قبر پہ اتنا تجھے روئے، سجاد تیری قبر پہ اتنا تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے، عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے،
ابا سحر شتم زہرا تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے ہاشم کے قمر کیوں نہ تیرا چاہنے والا ہاشم کے قمر کیوں نہ تیرا چاہنے والا وہ شمس کا پڑھتے ہوئے سورات تجھے روئے وہ شمس کا پڑھتے ہوئے سورات تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ تجھے روئے جب شام و سحر فاطمہ زہرا تجھے روئے عباس تیرا حق ہے زمانہ
متوجہ زیارت بسم اللہ الرحمن السلام علیکم یا